The archer who draws the bow with unnecessary tension will never hit the target, for precision comes not from force, but from the perfect balance of effort and ease. And that is the thought for today. Welcome to 7 Good Minutes. I'm Clyde Lee Dennis. Thanks for joining me for what I believe will be 7 of the most enriching minutes of your day. In today's episode of 7 Good Minutes, we talk about releasing tension before you begin and creating space for your best day. Enjoy. There's a moment between sleeping and fully waking when your body holds the memory of yesterday's stress. Your shoulders carry the weight of unfinished conversations, and your mind already begins rehearsing today's worries. What if, instead of rushing into the day with all that accumulated tension, you gave yourself permission to release it first? By the end of this episode, you'll understand how releasing physical and mental tension before you begin your day creates the spaciousness needed for clarity, creativity, and genuine presence in everything you do. We live as if tension is normal, as if carrying yesterday's stress into today is just part of being an adult. We wake up with clenched jaws, tight shoulders, and minds already racing toward our to-do lists. But tension is not your natural state. It's something you've learned to hold on to, and it's something you can learn to let go of. Think about how a musician tunes their instrument before a performance. They don't just start playing and hope for the best. They take the time to adjust each string, to create the proper tension and release, so that, when they begin, every note can ring true. Your body and mind deserve the same careful attention before you begin the symphony of your day. Tension lives in the spaces between your thoughts, in the muscles you've forgotten you're clenching, in the breath you've been holding without realizing it. It accumulates like dust in the corners of your awareness, so gradually that you stop noticing it's there. But just because you've grown accustomed to carrying it, doesn't mean you have to keep it. When you release tension before you begin, you're not just relaxing your body. You're creating space for possibility. You're clearing the static that interferes with your ability to think clearly, to respond rather than react, to approach challenges with creativity instead of anxiety. Consider the difference between trying to write with a pen that's running out of ink versus one that flows smoothly across the page. When you're holding tension, you're the pen that's running out of ink. You can still function, but everything requires more effort, more force, more struggle. When you release that tension, you become the pen that flows, where ideas and actions move through you with ease and grace. The beautiful thing about releasing tension is that it doesn't require hours of meditation or complex techniques. It requires awareness and intention. It requires the willingness to pause and ask your body what it needs, to notice where you're holding stress and consciously let it go. Maybe it's taking 3 deep breaths and letting each exhale carry away something you don't need to hold. Maybe it's gently rolling your shoulders and releasing the weight of yesterday's conversations. Maybe it's stretching your arms toward the sky and creating space in your chest for new possibilities. Maybe it's simply placing your hand on your heart and acknowledging that you're safe in this moment, that you don't have to brace yourself against a day that hasn't even begun. When you release tension, you're not becoming passive or unprepared. You're becoming available to respond to what actually happens instead of what you're afraid might happen. Available to notice opportunities that tension would have blinded you to. Available to bring your full presence to the people and moments that matter most. Your best ideas don't come from a tense mind. Your most loving responses don't come from a tense heart. Your most effective actions don't come from a tense body. They come from the spaciousness that exists when you've cleared away what doesn't serve you and made room for what does. Think of tension as yesterday's energy that's overstayed its welcome. It served a purpose when you needed it, but now it's just taking up space that could be used for something more useful. When you consciously release it, you're not losing anything valuable. You're making room for fresh energy, clear thinking, and authentic presence. The day ahead of you is full of unknowns, and that's actually beautiful. But you can't fully receive what the day wants to offer you if your hands are already full of yesterday's stress. You can't hear the subtle guidance of your intuition if your mind is already noisy with worry. You can't feel the joy that's available in simple moments if your body is already braced for difficulty. Before you check your phone, before you make your coffee, before you step into the demands of your day, give yourself the gift of release. Let your body soften. Let your mind clear. Let your heart open to the possibility that today could unfold with more ease than you expect. You deserve to begin from a place of spaciousness rather than stress, from presence rather than pressure, from openness rather than overwhelm. The day is waiting for the best version of you, and that version emerges naturally when you've created the space for it to appear. That does it for today's episode of 7 Good Minutes. Please take a moment to rate and review the show on the platform you're listening on. Until next time, let's be civil to one another out there. Thanks for listening.